Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families and the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Good morning, everybody. It is the end of the corporate age. We know that. But I think before then, we're going to have the end of the gun age. And today kind of marks the very beginning of that. Thank you, children around the world, for doing what adults have absolutely failed to do. And that is govern. In the United States, particularly. The kids give me more hope than anything going on with adults these days. So that's about as grassroots as it gets when you have the next generation saying, we're done with your shit. You've really made a mess of things, and we're going to fix it for you. And the great part about that is all they have to really do is wait for us to die. Make sure they stay alive before then. So thank you, kids, marching for our lives today. We planned this episode with Brian Lacy talking about bees and helping their lives well before the March for Our Lives happened, because so many things like gun deaths happen in America to spur change really quickly that you just can't plan ahead. So I'm excited to have Brian on because Brian helped us with what we thought were bees in our house, but it wasn't. It was actually yellow jackets. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And we're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff with how you can have bees in your own yard and how you can care for bees without even having bees, and the benefits of bees, and observation hives, which are the coolest damn thing I've ever heard of and did not exist, to my knowledge, when I was first thinking about having bees. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all this stuff. But before we do that, we're going to bring on Markus real quick and just say good morning, Markus, because we have our German here with us. How you doing today, Markus?
Good morning, John. And yeah, for quite a long time, I did not say this. Good morning, America. I hope you guys are doing well and enjoy the weekend. There's a lot going on this weekend, and we will address to this later. And yeah, I'll give back to John and our guest for today, Brian Lacy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Markus. And we will be talking with Brian in just 1 second. Hey, everybody. Eco, Barbara, Phil, Jeffrey. Nice to see you this morning. Thank you for being here. I know most of you are probably either going to be marching or have marched or are supporting people who are marching. And thank you all for taking the time to drop by and listen to what Brian has to say about bees and the other stuff we're talking about. So without further ado, let's bring on Brian Lacy from Urban Bees and Gardens to talk about bees. Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, John. Hey, Markus. Good afternoon, Markus.
Hello, Brian. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I thank you, Brian. Yeah, I think you're like the only one who remembers to tell Markus good afternoon. We're all like, it's morning.
Yes,
it's America.
Yes, impressing. Yeah.
Thank you. So,
leave it to time zones.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So, Brian, a couple years ago, we thought we had bees building a hive in our wall. We had and I'm going to show everybody a picture here. We had, well, if I can get, hang on, where's that picture? I had this already. Here.
It was in your audio studio, right?
Yeah, it was in my wife's office. Actually, there's the outside of the house. It's it was basically right in that corner, up in the corner of the window there. There's some bees. Everybody, not the best picture. Where are they getting in? They're getting in between the cracks of those wood slats. There was just one little entrance, really, really tiny. It was like, really, you guys were all getting in and out of there. It was surprising. We were sure they were bees. Lori and I spent a long time looking at pictures, going, okay, it has to be. Look, it's not a yellow jack, right? What you can't tell from this picture, everybody, is that a little while later, that wall was bulging out, and it's so paper thin And Brian was telling us that had we waited a little while longer, they would have burst into the home, and it would have been kind of like an exorcist scene. And it's a good thing that we did not have that happen, and that Brian helped us. They weren't bees, were they? They were yellow jackets.
Yeah, they were yellow jackets. I've been fooled a couple. I mean, I've been a beekeeper since I was 13, and I'm 61 now.
Holy cow!
As of March 10th. So
wow,
it's been a while, but I've been fooled a couple of times. Like I'll go up the ladder, and I'll say, well, let's deal with these bees. And all of a sudden they look a little too small and they're flying a little too jaggedly back and forth and back and forth. I'm going, oh man, those aren't bees, those are yellow jackets. So, but yeah, they were really paper thin. They yellow jackets can chew wood and they can chew sheetrock, and they will. And they had carved into the room, almost into the room.
Yeah,
they probably would not have carved all the way through because they want a nice little enclosed area, but it was paper thin there.
Yeah, and it was scary, and
but so we dealt with them, and
we did.
You were yellow jacket free instead of bee free. It was all good.
It was, but that got us interested in. I mean, it made us discover you. We had no idea you existed, and then found out that you really dealt with helping people in urban areas, which we were kind of more urban than we are these days.
Right.
Have bees. We didn't even know it was a possibility. I was like, really? I could put a beehive here? That would be
not
cool.
Only is it possible, it's advantageous.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about that. Your primary focus is education on bees, or is it really to rescue bees from live areas? What do you tell us about yourself?
Well, I think that I suffer from the problem of doing, instead of just one niche-y thing, I do like everything about pollinators and gardens. So it's the things that really occupy my time are catching swarms in the spring.
Awesome.
Moving bees that are living inside tree cavities and working with arborists to move just that section of the tree where the bees are, and it's usually like 3 or 4 feet tall and somewhere between 18 inches and 4 feet wide, but it's just a hunk of a tree that we can then settle down into somebody's front or backyard, and the bees are still living in there. All we did was move the part of the tree that had the actual tree. So I'll do a lot of bee tree moving.
That's cool.
It is fun. And then of course we'll do structural rescues, like what we did at your place, but with bees instead of yellow jackets. And then I'll go to schools, install observation beehives in schools, which I know we'll get to later.
Yeah.
And then about a year ago, I changed the company name actually from Live Honeybees to Urban Bees and Gardens.
Oh.
So now I do a bunch of sort of gardening projects and gardening and planting related stuff, because honeybees, for those of you who do not know, are invasive to the New World. They were brought over from across the Atlantic by white folks that were, invading the New World. And so they've pushed out to a certain extent native bees like bumblebees and a whole bunch of different solitary, pollinators like mason bees and sweat bees and resin bees and a bunch of others. Wow. So it's really good to plant for all pollinators. One of the advantages of honeybees is that they can produce a great deal of honey and this stuff called propolis, which is made of tree resin, which is extremely healthy for people to eat and apply to wounds and generally incorporate into their life. It's both a probiotic and an antibiotic, depending on whether it's good for you or bad for you.
Wow.
So so the relationship between human beings and bees have been going on ever since we evolved from primates. So there's a very tight connection between the rise in human population and civilization itself and bees. There's a huge amount of fabulous lore, mythologies that and religious beliefs that are tied intimately with honeybees.
Absolutely, absolutely, and wow, I just learned a whole bunch of stuff right there.
Yeah, so we're all about planting for both human beings and pollinators. So it's sort of a food security, treat the land well.
Yeah.
People know about bees, and so if you bring in bees, whether they're mason bees or honeybees, which are the two bees that we deal with,
right?
As far as like selling and actually being involved with on an educational basis,
okay,
in schools and communities, it addresses it for people who might be curious and or afraid of bees. They'll at least maybe reconsider what they do on their land, or helping with a project on a larger plot, like in a park, to either reduce toxin loads, because a lot of people are just in the habit of doing something, and it might not be very good for pollinators, whether it's, just leaving it as green grass and mowing it all the time instead of, letting it go a little wild and letting some dandelions grow, for example. Or on a worst case, they're spraying things that are toxic that so those two things, like letting a little bit of wilderness grow or deliberately going in and planting so that it's going to be supportive of pollinators, as well as reducing toxins. When people learn that their neighbor is doing either honeybees or mason bees, and we've got materials to help them sort of look at best practices to help pollinators not die but thrive. And so there's this sort of win-win-win that happens as far as food security, more habitat and food for pollinators, less toxins for people and pollinators, so they don't, so they won't suffer as much from all that toxin load. So it's a more than a trifecta of good things about planting well and encouraging pollinators.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Bees, not just bees. I learned down here that there are so many pollinators, little wasps and other wasps. Our plum trees were mostly hit by wasps, not bees. I was like, wow, check that out. Right? And
there are even moths that only fly at night, that only go to flowers that open up at night. So
it's amazing. Right. And one thing that scares the shit out of me right now is the fact that we have, there's bee colony deaths occurring. We've got a fight against Monsanto, and maybe other parts of the world they've done better, but certainly in the U.S. we've embraced Monsanto. We've hired their people into our protection agency. I've got a slide up here talking about fungicides in combination with pyrethroids, and I know that neonicotinoids are in there. I don't pronounce that right. Talk about these harmful chemicals and what they're doing to bees.
Yeah, you can call them neonics.
Okay.
That's a good way to not trip up with all those weird diphthongs at the end.
Yes.
But so there's two major chemicals that are really terrible. One are the glyphosates, and that's what's in Roundup, and then you've got neonics, which are in a slew of different sort of plants, even systemically. So and both are used by Bayer and Monsanto.
Right.
So the long and the short of it is that. Well, I just want to draw in Markus for a moment by saying that it was a group. This is just last October of 2017. There were a small group of novice entomologists, people who were interested in insects, in a protected area somewhere in Germany. I don't know the specifics, but you might, Markus. But they released the results of a 27-year-long study that showed that. Over that 27-year period, 75% of the biomass of flying insects in this protected area had disappeared.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes.
Yeah, and even though there's been no study in the United States, it's presumed. It's one of those. It's sort of like how the NRA put the kibosh on being able to do any kind of study about gun deaths, right? So if you don't study it and you have no data, It doesn't exist, right? Which is, of course, a fallacy. So that this really I already had a fire in my belly, but now my fire is like burning up because, it's like we are at the precipice of having to do a lot now to try to rescue not only insects, but also I believe there's a lot of birds and a lot of vertebrates of any kind, whether they're salamanders in a stream or fish in a stream, that are needing to eat that biomass. So insects are very low on the food chain, but they're massive in terms of their biomass for a reason, and that is to feed spiders, and that is to feed birds, and that is to feed fish and all the other flying or walking or swimming animals that depend on those insects. So it's a huge problem. So, and there are initiatives that are addressing it, but as your opening logo, uphill all the time, it's going to be an uphill
all the way.
I'll get the motto right. So it's uphill all the way, right?
All the time as well, but yes,
all the time and all the way. Yes.
You know it. I mean, we really are. March for Our Lives does not just extend through today. It is pretty much the theme for the rest of your and mine's lives.
Yep, anybody's life, and it's always been that way, of course. So it's no major surprise. It's just it's the sort of information not get depressed about, but to get active about, right?
Yes.
So,
well, and let's talk about that. So what, okay, so we have all this horribleness going on, and bees are are every species is under attack because human beings are not really doing a good job taking care of this planet. What can people do? You and I are working out. I got an acre of space here, and I can do all sorts of stuff. But for somebody who lives in the typical suburban home or an apartment complex, maybe they can't have a hive. What can people do to just care for bees in general? I know there are things.
Oh yeah, well there are. If you can let dandelions grow, fantastic. Let dandelions grow. Really? Absolutely. They are very high in sugar, the nectar that's in a dandelion blossom, and they open extremely early. I mean, I live in Portland, Oregon, and I've seen dandelions open all year long, even in December and February. Yes. I walk out and I see these little yellow blossoms. So letting dandelions go is great. You can chop up the leaves and add whatever sweetener you might need to, and vinegar and such, and add it to a salad. It's really good for your liver. It's really a strong medicinal plant. It's a little on the bitter side, but if you just mix in the right amount for your taste, or you can steam it, or you can add it to stir fries, and that will cut down that bitterness quality too.
Interesting.
So yeah, and of course the root, dandelion root tea is expensive if you buy it dried at your local market, if you're lucky enough to find it. But you can make your own dandelion root, tea as well. So you just uproot, when you have the right amount of dandelions at your home, just uproot them a little bit and chop them up. But outside of that, there are a bunch of plants that you can raise either in pots but when it comes to bees, they really want to have a good 2 or 3 foot swath of insects. Of flowers. That's ideal to draw them. So it's sort of a not just one flower, but you want a nice coverage. So asters are great, late in the season. Willows are lovely earlier on in the season.
Do you have these things on your website? Is there a list of best practices?
It's all on the website.
Okay, because I know we had talked about this before, and so a 2 to 3 foot, like square foot, like you could divide that up with different pots of different plants and stuff, and just have them scattered throughout your backyard or whatnot.
Right. Or you might want to do you might want to start something that's going to bloom really early, and then in the middle of the summer, start something that's going to be able to bloom late in the season. So if you had an early and a late, that would be great.
Okay, so we're talking about being able. What you're talking about really is giving them some nectar supply on a consistent level throughout summer.
Absolutely.
What happens in the winter? Because I've seen a lot of things about winterizing bees, and I know that like last season I think I texted you. I was freaking out. Bees were I know they die. They all leave when winter comes, and a bunch of them go and they just fall everywhere. It was crazy around here, right? But there were so many hanging on. I made little sugar things so that they would just have a place to land or do a bath, right? And is that,
ideal practices for bees are this. So bees evolved in trees, and what still happens is that large animals, whether it's a cougar or a bear, will pad around and it'll pick up spores in its claws, and when it marks large trees for territory, it will insinuate spores that will migrate up Cambrian layer and find the right place of the tree where there was maybe a limb that dropped because of winter, and then the fungus will move into the tree and it will literally carve out sort of on the inside of the tree, just like how human bones are have a lot of lacunae, hollow places in our bones. It's similar to that. So it'll just hollow out this area that is typically 2 to 3 feet tall and somewhere between 12 to 2 feet wide. And that then becomes this sort of fungally painted, if you will, or encased open area with a little hole that leads to the outside. And in the spring, when a beehive has made it through winter, they will start to build up their populations, and they'll swarm, which is their version of giving birth, 1 to 3 times a year. Wow. And they'll send the mother queen out with a bunch of bees to start a new colony. And if they're lucky enough and close enough, they will go to one of these hollows in the tree and they'll occupy that and they'll build comb in it and the whole bit. But so let's say they build a bunch of comb and they put in honey and they gather pollen. And around September, October, they start to grow what are called winter bees, which are fuzzier and fatter and have more sugar in their blood and a lot more fat glands in their body. And from the period of no flower until, in our part of the world, Valentine's Day, they sort of shut down. And they'll go into what's called torpor. They stay around 60 degrees. But as soon as Valentine's Day hits, they know that the next season is coming. And they've only nibbled at their honey up until now. But when it gets to be around the middle of February, they'll start to feed the queen more this creamy substance called royal jelly that any daughter worker can make. And they will start to feed their queen more of that stuff, and she'll fatten up and she'll start to lay eggs, like maybe 50 the first day, and then 100 the next day, and then 200 the next day. And within a few days, she's laying up to 1,500 more than her own weight in eggs a day.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's crazy. And those bees, which is the crazier part, those bees need to incubate at 97 degrees hot. So the bees are very capable of creating a huge amount of heat, even up to the point of killing hornets. So they can run up to 118 degrees. But
wow,
if they need to kill a hornet, at least in Japan, the Japanese bees can do that.
Damn.
But I know. But so they burn through a ton of honey because they've got to feed a bunch of baby bees, and the brood chamber needs to stay at 97 degrees hot. So they roar through their honey supply as they approach warm enough weather to gather more food in from the outside. So that's sort of a snapshot of what they do in the year. And for us as human beings, here it is. It's like late March. It's still plenty of time. If somebody out there wanted to say be a beekeeper this year, it's quite possible, either by reaching out, and all this is at my website as well. But there are ways of reaching out to local bee associations, so you can find out who in your community either has a hive that has overwintered that may need to be what's called splitting, which is human beings intervening in a swarm so that you don't lose these bees to wherever, but you can keep them and give them a nice home. But getting to insulation, because bees evolve in trees, when human beings put bees in 3/4 of an inch of pine or fir in a rectangular box, that's a lot of stress for them. They really, really need a good hunk of insulation all around the hive and on top of the hive, whatever form it is, because there's different designs of hives. But it should be easy for them to bring that temperature up to 97 degrees and hold it. So a little hole and a lot of insulation is what bees adore for not eating a lot of honey through the winter, because they don't have to cool,
right.
They don't have to warm up a chilled wall. So they'll eat less honey. They'll be a lot less stressed out because they're in this fabulous home that's easy to heat. And by not being stressed out, their mite load will be much lower.
Now you're talking about, right now, you just kind of shifted over to talking about observation hive, right? A hive indoor. Right, because you were saying that right, by having the temperature regulated. But you brought with you some samples. You have, and we're going to show that video in a second, but you have a traditional, like a box behind your.
I was going to show. Well, I was just going to show you. I was going to show you. I can show you a couple of things real quick.
Yeah.
So this is. Is that visible to folks?
Yeah. Hold it a little more center there.
Have to go that way. There
Other way.
Go. That's center. It's so hard. It's like reverse osmosis.
Yes.
But anyway, so inside here are three frames. This typically holds 5, and it's made of cardboard. You can put insulation over this, but I brought it inside from out.
Right.
But this is what's called a starter hive or a nook, and it's a way of it's what people often will buy if they want to start a hive. Where it's already going. The other way is to catch a swarm, which is possible, and there's resources on that at the website as well. Like here's the result. Here's the result of a swarm that landed in on a pallet, a shipping pallet. So this is the underside of one piece of pallet that I cut off.
Oh wow!
I used my saw, but underneath where it was sheltered from the rain. They built the comb here.
Wow.
So that's what they'll do in nature. If they, and this is kind of dumb on their part because it was terrible shelter. You know,
Right.
Sometimes bees are really desperate because they can't find any big trees with any big holes.
Wow. And so what we're going to run this video here real quick and talk about the observation hive. You put these things in schools, right?
Yes.
And this is one of the schools, SJF. I don't know what school this is, but this is really cool. Everybody,
it's St. John Fisher.
St. John Fisher, and they did their own newscast
in Southwest Portland. Yes.
Yeah, and
it hasn't happened yet. So that observation hive is being installed at 1 o'clock on April 25th, which is a Wednesday.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here let's see. And I think it's on the it looked like there was something on the wall behind them. I'm not sure what that is, but
I think what they did was they borrowed some still or some footage from so the hive is installed, but there's no bees in it yet.
Right. Okay. That's it.
So
yeah.
I think that's what you're seeing.
And they said they were gonna test it to make sure it's safe before they bring bees in to figure that out. If they're putting these things in schools, if the school admin's like, yeah, go ahead and put a hive in the school, I'm guessing it's not that big of a deal, right?
It's totally not that big of a deal. No. Yeah.
I mean, these bees in school. We're gonna put guns in schools. Bees should be fine. All right. Let's watch this video.
Hello, SJF students. I'm Avery.
And I'm Jada. We are here today with a special edition of SJF News.
Have you heard the buzz around St. John Fisher School? St. John Fisher has teamed up with the Bee Cause Project, and we are the latest and first Catholic school in Oregon to bring an active beehive to our school.
The mission of the Bee Cause Project is to provide youth with opportunities to understand, engage, and learn from honeybees in order to connect with the natural environment while developing STEAM skills. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
Our hive is located in the library. Let's go on location with Riley and Colby.
Thank you, Avery. Colby and I are on site here at the SJF School Library to see the newly installed beehive.
The bees will enter the hive from outside into the new see-through chamber. Then they will head straight to the observation hive. They never enter the school building and they are safe and secure in the hive. The observation hive was donated to the school by a local green coffee distribution company, Costa Oro Intel, who has worked with the Bee Cause Project over the last 3 years to promote honeybee education for our future generation.
Don't worry, we will test the hive to ensure that it is safe before bringing the bees into the school in late April. We wanted to get the word out because St. Valentine happens to be the patron saint of beekeepers. We're working with a professional beekeeper, Mr. Brian Lacy from Urban Bees and Gardens, who will be helping us with our bee colony and upkeep of our hive. The bees will arrive in late April once the weather warms up, so look forward to a big celebration.
Back to you, Avery and Jada.
That was awesome.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, they got better graphics than we do. Jeez, nice. that was good.
Well, it's uphill all the time.
So, and I finally figured out what they mean by keeping it safe. They want to say making sure it's safe for the bees. I get it.
Well, I interpret it differently. I thought that they were saying it'd be safe for the kids.
No, I know. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But that's cool. I mean, the hive's right there, and it looked like there was like a thermal blanket on the front there.
Right. Okay. So I build. There's a couple of things I do to those observation hives to make them more bee happy. Which is, I add some tabs to it so that the frames in there. Here's a frame. Well, here's a frame with comb on it, and it's got rubber bands on it too. This is a sheet of comb. Old comb that was rescued out of a structure, and I rubber band them, and the rubber bands, the bees will eat through the rubber bands after they have fused the comb to the regular frame.
Nice.
But but anyway, so I put a few tabs in there, and but I also build a sheet of insulation so the bees are even warmer. So.
Wow. So these hives that like the one that was installed there, is it coming from a company somewhere? Are you custom building these things, and how big are they?
Well, these observation hives come from, I believe, North Carolina. There's a nonprofit called thebeecause.org. And they have this mission of shipping, making and shipping observation hives around the country. Now, I make my own as well, so it's an adaptation of those. But if a school, it's all tied up with this grant thing, these education things, so it's a kit. So they sort of buy the kit.
Nice.
And I'll show up with the 2-inch wide drill and drill a hole through to the outside and install everything if they need it, all this jazz. And then on the appointed day, I'll come with bees that are already growing on some frames, and I'll make a little tent that people can see through, but the bees can't fly through. And I'll have a little bee vac with me, a vacuum, and I'll open up the box and I'll install the frames into the observation hive and suck up any of the loose bees and put it. And I put all those bees. So all the bees are then in the observation hive, and then I can open up the tent, and kids will then walk the observation hive into the library, and we'll do the actual install, and then we open up the gates so that the bees can fly out.
That's cool. I hope their news crew captures all of that.
I'm sure it'll be filmed, and I don't know if like local TV stations are, but I usually send out a bunch of PSAs about this, and if the recipient's open to it, then we'll have a lot of footage. But at the website, there's also stuff about another school, which is north of Portland, called Gardner. And we had 5 different media outlets that are there. A bunch of television was there. And
nice.
Because it's a really cool thing. And to get back more on the education stuff, kids are fascinated and love to learn through bees. There's so much stuff you can learn about bees. Not only sort of obvious environmental and sort of toxin land use sorts of issues and food security issues, but also art, and mythology,
right,
and biology, and just tracking also every discipline, whether it's math or science, engineering. There's so much that bees just naturally will plug into, and that kids it'll be an exciting touchstone as you're trying to teach a child, whatever their age, to like love and respect and learn from and change personal habits. Not only at home, but then, hey, Mom, Dad, let's have a hive, or let's plant, or this sort of thing. And for people who are like really freaked out about bees, but still want to support pollinators, I thought I would show you. So this is like a mason bee home, and mason bees are the native pollinators. And this is one of our designs where it's clear on one face, so you actually see the female after she's mated. She'll walk in and she'll apply mud, and then she'll bring in nectar and pollen, and then she'll lay an egg, and then she'll put a wall of mud, and she'll repeat that cycle of pollen, nectar, egg, wall of mud, all the way up through here. And it's a bunch of girls to the very end, and it's boys. And she'll fill this sucker up. And depending on where you are in the world, like in our part of the world, it's been so cold, thanks to climate chaos, etc.
Right.
That I still have my mason bees in the refrigerator waiting for sort of regular 55 to 60 degree weather, but we've had such severe dips, under the 50s that if I were to have released my mason bees by now, they probably would have died. So wow. I'm keeping them dormant until a little bit later. So, but that's an option for people.
And mason bees don't sting, is what you're saying. They don't. Right. They're everybody knows they're little tiny bees. They're just tiny. They're a little bit smaller than honeybees, not that much smaller, but they definitely look different. They're iridescent blue and green. They're gorgeous animals, and they're very fuzzy. They transport the pollen on their chests, and they pollinate really well. So you'll get really great fruit set with mason bees. They really know how to pollinate a flower and have that apple or pear or whatever really get big because they got well pollinated. Wow, that's incredible. And for those of you who aren't aware, I mean, you can make you got old chimes you don't like, band them together and hang them up somewhere, because just bunch of holes is something you can do for mason bees. I did that at our old home. It's not as awesome as what Brian's got there, where you can actually see what's going on, but it's really easy to give them a place to live. Drill some holes into some wood, and I know that on Brian's website he's got instructions or links to all that stuff too. So
Yep.
Phenomenal. Before I got to have you back, because we're beyond a half hour. We're like 40 minutes in, and there's so much more I want to learn from you. And I can't wait to have you come down here, and you know, we're gonna put an observation hive here, and that's gonna be amazing. But Markus, are there any questions in the audience for Brian?
I did not notice exactly any questions, but I see that our viewers are completely on the side of the bees, and they want the bees to survive, you know. And what my question would be: in how far are those bee hotels helpful, or is it better to invest in a hive? What would be more in favor of bees?
Are you saying should one do native bees or honeybees? Is that what you're asking?
I'm just talking about the bees which are flying around in my garden, you know, to give them some kind of shelter, you know.
Well, so the shelter that you're providing, you can either provide a hive for honeybees, or you can provide some kind of nesting material for native bees. So, you know, getting a hive is a much bigger investment in terms of money. Like, it costs, you know, at least a couple $100, and there's a bit of a learning curve to do that. For somebody who wants to harvest honey, if you don't care about harvesting honey, then you can provide a nice box and try to attract bees and just let them fly and let them be wild. That's fine, as long as you well insulate it. But on a more simpler level, providing, as John was saying earlier, you know, some horizontal tubes that are sheltered from the rain, that will work fine. Or you can just let part of your garden go a little wild. There are a lot of people who will take bamboo that is more or less in the sort of the 8 millimeter zone and about 1 foot long, and leave those horizontally in shelter in your yard, and the odds of attracting some kind of pollinator to nest in there are good. But a lot of it has to do with just planting, you know, just plant seeds that are going to provide, you know, some good flowering. And there's there are so many plants. You just Google that, or you go to the website, my website, and just type in the keyword plants, and you'll see blogs and you'll see pages crop right up.
All right, and it was diversity, I think. Thank you for answering that, Brian. But you were telling me, even down here, you asked me if I were going to have bees on my property, what is the diversity of your plants? What kind of fruit? What kind of trees? What kind of this, that, flowers? And so we've worked at adding more diverse things, just because, like, okay, if they like more, then let's change that up. Well,
I can certainly speak to the plants that are going to be particularly medicinal to bees.
Okay, yes.
These are what I call the 5 Mediterranean sisters. So it's mint, sage, rosemary, oregano, and thyme. So those 5 plants, and with mint, of course, you really want to put those in pots because they can wander crazy. But
yes.
So as long as you're careful about that, I can heartily recommend that all those plants are going to not only provide really medicinal, delicious herbs for culinary, when you're cooking, fresh or dried, but the nectar and the pollen that those plants provide have strong medicinal properties for bees.
Yeah.
So
well, that's awesome. So down here we have one of the 3 largest mint processing plants right by us. Our yard is riddled with wild mint, and when he says watch out, put it in pots, I'm talking Jurassic mint. It grows as tall as me.
Yeah.
It's so strong. It is beyond
mega mint.
Yeah. It is, and it is way beyond mint you would even want to use. You're like, oh my God, that is so super strong.
Monster mint.
It is, but and all the other things you mentioned, that's great. They're just herbs that everybody want to have. And mint tea is good for your stomach. I mean, all this stuff is like a no-brainer. Brian, you've been amazing. Thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, John. Thank you, Markus.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
We're going to have you back a lot because there's so much more to learn from you. And thank you so much. Anybody who wants to get in touch with Brian, we have a slide here. But what's the best way? What do you prefer, Brian?
Oh, emails. Email's best. Yeah, there's a contact page. I'm not averse to getting phone calls and texts as well. So,
are you active on Facebook? Or
very.
Okay. So
yeah, pretty much all platforms. YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. There's even Yelp. Let alone the usual Pinterest and Instagram and all that stuff. So I'm all plugged into the sock med, so to speak.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian.
Markus, John.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And we got all the information, of course, below the video, and can contact Brian if you want him.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Thank you. And you can hang up and get out of here, Brian. We will talk later about more. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we'll put together some nice themes. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, we will. We will. Absolutely will. Thank you. If you guys don't know, we're putting an observation hive once we get it a little later on this month, or no, next month. When are we doing? April?
The May or June.
May or June. We're doing it in May or June, guys.
As I recall. We have a date in the calendar.
We do. Whenever it happens. It's not like we're not busy or anything. That's going in our guest room. We got a nice space. We got to put access. And so, anybody who wants to come and visit, the guest room will have the beehive. You afraid of it? That's fine with us. Don't come by.
Well, one of the things that I delight in the most, just as maybe a closure here, is that if I'm working with bees, and this happens whether it's a class of kids or a class of adults, and I'll put up a little tent sort of thing that's bee-proof, so they can be close to what's going on, but not have any bees flying directly up against them. And then after 5 to 10 minutes of seeing bees walking on me, on the hands, and I'm in the hive working slow and sweet on them, and they see that the bees are in no way defensive or upset about my being there, they start coming out of the bee-proof tent because they want to see what's going on. They want bees to land on them. And it always ends up with kids putting honey on their hand and hoping that the bee lands on them. So a lot of this stuff is just exposure because people don't know. It's perfectly natural to be afraid of things that can sting, that have creepy crawly and have wings and stuff like that. It's understandable. Stings hurt, but they can be very medicinally beneficial as well, which can be a topic for another day. But
it will be.
Oh yeah.
But I love seeing a person go from being fearful to being really interested in having some kind of rapport with bees and being cool about it.
Oh well, yeah. And I got to tell you, I watched a show yesterday. It's like Outrageous Acts of Science or something, and I didn't know this at all. Okay, I just got to bring this up because this blows my mind, and now I'm going to have to get stung. Just to see this.
Bee venom therapy, huh?
Well, no, not that. Although I heard a thing about that where they're just killing the bees for therapy. I think that's terrible. I know. But here was the thing. It was a guy saying that and correct me if I'm wrong. Please tell me if this is BS. This was on TV. That other bees, or no, all bees that sting, when they sting other animals and things, they don't die. They can get their stingers back out. When they sting humans, because of our skin, they have to spin around. And they showed a guy with a bee sting, and he was a beekeeper. And he's like, if I stay calm, instead of freaking out, knocking the bee off, if I just let him spin around and around and around, he unwinds his stinger and flies away. Is that true?
Well, a couple of points. They're all girls, so boys have no stingers, so they have a fancy squared off by the drones. And they have half the chromosomes as well, as another fun detail.
Interesting.
But, they're haploids.
So the boys are basically just dumb workers.
No, not at all. No, they have a whole different purpose. So we'll get into drones later. But yes. So if a bee is stinging an animal that's got flesh, muscle, then and because the stinger is barbed, and if the stinger goes in deeply enough, when the bee flies away, she's going to leave the stinger behind and a little muscle and a little packet of the venom that continues to pump after she's flown away.
Right.
But she'll die because it sort of separated her butt from her body, right? Not fun for anybody. But if she stings another insect, which has an exoskeleton and very soft inside body parts, then she can sting those sorts of insects and live to tell the tale. But they will, and this happened to me too, where they'll sting you a little bit, but not deeply. And the bee knows that. She knows that. And she tries to fly away, but rather than jump away from it, she'll spin So she'll do a little corkscrew to try and uncork her barbed stinger out of the flesh before she can fly away and live to sting another day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a lot more accurate than the show. They had a nice graphic though of the stingers going up and down in the
a stinger is amazing because it's built in 3 parts. It's seesaws on either side with barbs sticking up, so it sort of has this sort of drilling action going deeper in.
It was crazy. Yeah.
And then there's the tube on the inside that continues to pump the toxin into the victim, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the complexity. It's just amazing. Amazing. And here we are arguing over whether we need guns in schools.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, thank you so much. We will
off to the marches.
Yes. Off to the marches. We're going to talk about that right now. Thank you, Brian. Lacy.
Great, John. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See ya.
See you, Brian.
Bye-bye, Marcus.
Bye.
Ah, that was awesome. Always learn so much.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And yes, I did say BS. Yes, everybody. Ha. Right. Brian's got all the best puns there.
Yeah.
So, what else were we going to talk about? We had some exciting stuff. What's on your list, Marcus? I got to look at the rest of the slides.
There is a lot on my list. It is a question of what we want to start with.
Well, before we do that, is there anybody in the audience that... There we go.
Woo!
Hang on. I had to get Brian out of there. And this is Zoom. So when people leave, unlike with the Google Hangout, I have to readjust this setting here. It's a little funky. But Zoom is much better for us, as we've discovered. It really is. All right. Anyway, there's Marcus again. So was there any question? I see. I think questions. Schultze, or no, who is it? Melissa. Maybe watching the marches. Any questions from the audience now about anything? No? Hi, everybody.
There was no question, but there was an interesting info coming from EcoSutra, and I was aware of it also. A few days ago, there was a message launched that Monsanto plans to launch a robot bee, for the future. And in my opinion, if it is true, there you can see in what wrong direction science can go. Instead of investing all the knowledge possible into saving the bees, the science goes into the direction to replace them by robots, which is completely idiotic. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Oh, what happened?
Oh, we gone?
Put the wrong Marcus on. Oh, now it's bouncing back and forth. Jeez.
Oh.
I'm telling you, the Zoom thing, when people leave, this is what I was talking about, Laura, live and good. It doesn't stick. Hang on, everybody.
Oh, Laura's in chat. Hey, Laura.
She is. Hi, Laura. I just got to have you selected on the right one. It's you on the internal cam. And hang on, everybody.
All right.
Anyway, we should keep Marcus there. Should be all right. So, did you guys see the promo for the No More Fools? That's really what's next is the No More Fools, and I forgot to open it up. And so we're gonna watch it because, I had to change the URL because I misspelled Hunziker. And it actually wasn't a misspelling. I just am terrible at typing, although that wasn't the URL. Here we go. Please help us with this. This is the No More Fools Day. It's No More Fools Day events on April 1st, and there's a Thunderclap link. Thunderclap is a Twitter thing. You can do it on Facebook too, but basically it's a one-time automated free thing that taps into your Twitter account, blasts the same message from everybody. And we're trying to, all the candidates are signing up for it. We've got a pretty big reach thanks to a couple people with some huge Twitter accounts, and I appreciate that. But it's basically adding your social reach to this message and pushing it out. So I'd really appreciate it. You don't just share it. You got to go to Thunderclap, click on the thing, do the thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you, guys. I'm glad you liked the program. Yeah, Hunziker is the hard one, especially when you can't type for shit. It really is. Anyway, let's watch the promo, because I want to watch it again anyway. And I'm sure I'll find my next error in it. It's what I do. You have no idea. I watched this thing like 10 times last night before I put it unlisted on YouTube, and swear to God I didn't see any errors. That's how
What
bad.
error? I didn't notice it.
I had.
The Hunziker. Oh, okay.
I saw Hunziker spelled.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, here we go.
All right.
I'm just a fool for April.
Thank God this is the Saturday.
There's nothing more to say. You can fool other people some other time. I pity the fool.
Says fool me once. Shame on. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I guess I'm dumb, but
One point said about Trump, quote, he's just a fucking fool.
we don't get fooled again.
So apparently I messed up the ending to that too. This is either way, it was fun to make, and I'm gonna put a third version of that up because my end didn't come out right. It's like anyway. I love making those things. I think I do events. I think I do these live events just to make trailers. It's really my fun thing. So anyway, please help with that. Share. All the links in the description. Go to the Uphill Media website because there's a page there. It's just under our live productions. And that has all the list of the candidates and a direct link to their donation. That's what we're doing there. So go there and help us. Really need you to share that. I know everybody's doing March for Our Lives today, and that is obviously what's important, but we need to raise money for our candidates in the West so that they can replace a lot of establishment candidates, and we have some serious problems with them out here, and some weird ones that are in the middle, like Kamala Harris. I still don't trust, and doesn't support single payer, but wants everybody to think she's a progressive, right? Which is a good way to move into the We the Peeps that we had, because we had some similar kind of occurrences. It was really bizarre. The first We the Peeps, I thought this was to me that this was okay. This is John Pelzer, great guy, nice guy, progressive. Misspoke in the middle of an interview with Get Your News On with Ron, and you know, in my view, he clarified immediately in the way it's cut for the interview by Ron for the short clip. You don't know that. And look, I'm not judging Ron. I'm not judging anybody in that. I'm just saying I'm going to give John Pelzer the benefit of the doubt, because at the end of the day, you know, you sign a CFAR and you say you're going to vote these ways. You say you're going to actually represent the people. That's what I care about. I don't really give a shit what you did in 2016 or in 2017. I care about what you're going to do now. What are you going to do now? Right? And if you say you're going to do something progressive, you better damn well do it, or we're going to come for your ass. That's pretty much the message to all politicians. Don't care what you did in 2016. Care about now. Right? So let's listen to John Pelzer talk about that incident. Because I think it was unfortunate, and it sounds to me like he doesn't really care. He's got a good, strong, progressive base where he is, and he's excited to move forward. This guy's 65. He has no reason to be doing this. And so I kind of had a lot of respect for that. And he dumped the majority of the cash into his own campaign. Right? I think the question that I want to ask, and we addressed in the Green Room, is what made you decide, after saying that you supported Bernie, you supported Bernie's you know, where he stood on the issues, what made you decide ultimately, though, to choose Hillary Clinton in the primary?
My fear of Trump and the judiciary. We see now that, you know, Mitch McConnell spends his entire day just getting judicial appointments for Trump's signature. And this was the fear I had. And, you know, I certainly understand the lack of difference on most issues between Hillary and Trump. but judicial was not one of them. And I do feel that had she won, she may not have been able to get her pick through, but we would not have Gorsuch now. And that's the kind of thing that hangs around for decades.
Okay. So you had a legitimate concern about the choices. And I mean, at this point, worried about Trump with everything we've seen in year one. I don't think anybody could argue with that. I mean, if I were going to choose a safer side, at least on the front, right, the facade, I would go with Hillary Clinton myself, right? At this point, though, do you really think, or let me ask you, let me take it this way. Do you think, though, that in the horribleness that we've seen from the Trump administration, it has actually helped to unite the progressive movement?
I do. I think it's shown a light on everything. Not only has it called out a need for progressives to get their act together and to step up, but I think it's also exposed the corporate Democrats to an extent that probably otherwise might not have happened. Yeah. Which was certainly my situation, learning more about my member of Congress as a result of everything going on.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about him. He looks like a wonderful establishment candidate. So let's just ask you right up front. You're 65. Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem like a career change. So why go through the effort? And we know it's a hell of an effort from talking to many candidates. Why go through the effort, spend the personal expense as you have to run for office at your age?
Well, it's worthwhile. I mean, as I've told my kids as they're growing up, nothing worthwhile is easy, and this is worthwhile. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position in my life where I can. So I am. I mean, it really is that simple. I mean, I'm not a retiring kind of guy. I would be doing something, and this just kind of timing-wise dovetailed with other things going on in the country. And it was just, I'm very thankful that I have the opportunity to do it.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you running.
Thanks.
Because it's, as we've learned, it is the most difficult thing to do. You become a public person, and you're ripped apart for what you say. All right, I'm cutting in because that's not what I expected it to be. I screwed up the piece, or I loaded the wrong thing. That's not him talking about the Ron Picone incident. So, not sure what happened there. Or I started talking about it, but he didn't really get into it that much. But we did at another point. So I wish I could find that piece, and I will. But either way, it just move beyond it. What'll be interesting, what I'm going to have fun talking about is, I believe in April, Ron Picone will be on the Progressive California show, and I'm just interested in talking to him about it. Not the way he handled the situation or his editing. I don't give a shit. I just want to know what he thinks of candidates like that. What he thinks of people that might bring pause, because I have less trust of, say, somebody who's taken money from the DCCC than I do of somebody who might have misspoke about their support for Bernie Sanders. What you didn't hear in that clip was that he supported Bernie Sanders' ideas and views in the primary, but ultimately voted for Hillary Clinton in the primary. Many of other people did that and said that as well, and have moved on to become lovely progressives. So it's not like I would give him a complaint. The way Ron cut it, and it sounded like on Ron's live show, was that he was lying about it, saying I supported Bernie. But he never said I voted for him in the primary. He said I supported Bernie and his ideas. All right. So misleading the omission, but he came immediately in to say, by the way, I didn't vote for him. Right.
Yes, and John, if I may help, please.
Yeah.
It is. You're absolutely right, and the link is coming from me. Because you said it at the beginning that it was not so important that he corrected this, and I think this was not the important part. I think this one, what we just saw, was much more important than his support for his support for Bernie. Because this is what I don't get. I agree. I think he's a progressive candidate, and he has a lot of money in his own campaign. And why should he do anything corporate-like? But what I don't get is the following: you have a progressive agenda, and you're in the primaries, and you have a candidate with Bernie Sanders who stands for literally everything what your progressive agenda also has in it, and then you go to vote for Hillary. I can understand it. if you do this in the general election, just like as John Fetterman did, you know, because he knows exactly what's going on, and I can understand all the others who were worried about the Supreme Court and stuff. I can understand all this, but I don't understand why he could support Hillary Clinton during the primaries, you know, when he had the opportunity to do this with Bernie.
Well, this was in California, and California had an option. California was riding high on Bernie Sanders, and my guess was, in his view, he was concerned about Bernie winning the California primary. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
that's the only thing I don't understand, you know. And all the other things, you know, I think it is not worth mentioning what was happening in the Ron Proclone show, because this is something we don't know who cut the video later, and I think it is not that important. As you say, it is what he stands for now, and I think his agenda is okay. Though I don't understand his past, I think he deserves a chance, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you right there.
Yeah.
I keep switching out. Because I keep hitting the wrong camera shot on you. It's irritating. Anyway, so that was John Pell's. It was the week of interesting candidate scenarios. Then we had Wendy Reed. Wendy surprised me as well, but for completely different reasons. And that was Wendy was the most exciting and challenging interview that I've done. I'll be honest, because of what happened. So Wendy is a 30. She lived in her district for 30 years. She's run before. She had the endorsement of Justice Democrats, maybe brand new Congress, and then they took it away. We discussed the incident that was going on there, and I thought her explanation of what had happened, what was going on, was valid, made a lot of sense. And I thought she kind of got a bad rap from this dude in Reddit who had a lot to say bad about her, but zero evidence. There was nothing that any of us could find in social media or anywhere else that actually was proof that Wendy was any of the things that this guy was pushing her out to be. So I was like, let's give her a fair shot. Totally fine. A lot of respect for Wendy Reed, and glad she's running as a progressive. I got a little miffed when she started tromping on progressives, young progressives, and them not having enough experience to be in office. And I think that's the clip or the piece of that you have up here, Marcus. And is that where we're at here?
Yes. When she starts, when he has a very, when she shows her opinion on the young generation in politics. Yes.
Yeah.
Been doing this, a lot of the people who are running against me are people who have no experience in our district whatsoever. They've never organized people. They've never represented people. They've never organized people to go before a board of supervisor at the county, or to write letters of comment, or gone to climate change education, or given, as I have, climate change education to groups like schools and the Kiwanis. You know, I go in and educate them about climate change. I think we need to get to a place in America where people are not making superficial judgments about candidates. It goes way beyond, are they pretty? Do they have nice hair? What color are they? What religion are they? What gender are they? It goes way beyond that. It goes to what they have committed their lives to doing. When we looked at Bernie Sanders and we looked at what he had committed his life to, from the time that he was in college, from the time that he was marching on the streets, as I did, as other people of my generation did in the 1960s, sometimes with our parents, but sometimes on our own. If you look at the history of our lives, you see progressive action. And those are the people that we need to be sending to Congress now. I love that young people are getting involved. But if they haven't studied American history and economics and political science and public policy and ethics, then they're not going to really stand by those progressive policies when they get to Washington, because they don't know the history of it. They haven't lived the effort. They haven't lived the struggle for long
wait a minute.
enough.
I just got to address that, because I know plenty of young people that I would much rather have in office than anybody who's older and supposedly educated on those subjects. I'd rather have somebody who's got good intentions, morals, and decency, and is willing to learn the job.
How are you going to judge this morals and decency if they have no record, if they have no education and no record?
Well, so I mean, what do you? I guess I'm a little taken back by your statement. There's plenty of people that you're running with that are progressives that are in their 20s, and I support many of them. And I don't think any of them lack an education or lack an understanding of what's going on in the United States or lack an understanding of how corrupt this country is or lack an understanding of what they need to do to fix it. And I don't think any of them need to spend decades or whatever you think it is restudying that shit. I think the one thing we can learn from the past is that people from your generation and my generation have pretty much screwed things up pretty hardcore. So I don't understand what you're saying there. I mean, it sounds like you're saying, what do they have to be 62 to run? Because where are you going there, Wendy? That's a little harsh.
But I think that, first of all, you're talking about many people in their 20s. I don't know who those people are.
Well, go take a look at all the We the Peoples we've looked at, because many of them are on our show. I mean, that's the progressive movement. They're all throughout the United States of America. We've got kids, Anthony V. Clark. We've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Lindsey Fagan, right? These are all young candidates. Sima Hernandez, who took a massive portion of the vote away from Beto O'Rourke in Texas. These are the same kids that are marching. I'm sorry, but what you sounded to me like, first you said, I love that the kids are getting involved, like the kids getting involved in the gun debate. But then what you said to me after that sounded a lot like what that Florida legislator said, these kids need to shut up because they don't know what they're talking about, their kids. And quite frankly, it's the adults that need to shut up.
John, with all due respect.
Sure.
I think that people need to spend time in their districts. Okay.
Sure.
They need to understand the different economies and the different constituencies and the geography of their districts. Number one, they need to know their districts. Otherwise, they're what we call carpetbaggers.
Absolutely.
And they're political people who are set up. They're basically.
Now, I'm going to stop it right there because had I maintained my cool just a little better and been able to interrupt her a few more times, because one of the other things is that Wendy likes to talk and she's good at talking. And that's what makes her good as a candidate. And so it was really hard to get in there and stop and like readjust to get onto a next question, which is the role of a good interviewer, is to make sure we're actually going somewhere with the content, right? She's right about a lot of the carpetbaggers, which would be people that are placed to run in these districts by the Democratic Party proper and the Republican Party proper that don't know shit about the district, that were bussed in there or moved in there, or, well, whatever, or lived somewhere, and we see this happening in Washington State. We see this happening everywhere where they don't like the progressive running or they don't like the people that are there, right? So they bring in somebody else. And I agree with that. If you don't know what's going on in the district, and she schooled my ass like right after that and gave us a whirlwind tour of her district and knew everything about it. And I think that's absolutely valuable and necessary. Know your district. But I will definitely put morals and decency and ethics and a commitment to honorability above anybody knowing anything about a piece of fucking land they got to administrate. Okay? Just priorities. So, and quite frankly, anybody that, Wendy, embrace the youth. They will put you in office. Your age won't. Your demo is going to vote for the Republican in your district. That's what I'm saying here. And I old people, my generation and up, we got to pull our heads out of our collective ass here. Yeah. We really do. I don't want aged experience in my government. I want young passion for doing the right fucking thing for humanity. That's what I want in my government. And any of your fancy pants ideas for anything else beyond that, I don't give a shit. We have a people to care for, a planet to care for. Let's get back to basics, folks. Yeah. That's me. But I have a lot of respect for Wendy for, that's when you get into a heated discussion like that, and for her to be able to come back and we maintain a conversation, and that's network news discussion with some actual fucking substance is what that was, right?
Yes.
Imagine what it would be like if we could get that out of our mainstream media. Wouldn't that be fucking awesome?
Yes, absolutely. And my opinion on the Wendy Reid interview, I think it was, as you said, I think it was one of our best interviews so far because there was a little bit controversy in it. But what I want, my impression of her was there is quite a lot of, or at least a little bit of hurt feelings in it. You know,
Yeah. I got this too.
She got the certain age which is not anymore the age which we can see right now today in the streets, you know. And she feels, I think she feels a little bit hurt. She knows everything, as she stated and as she proved, you know, in our show, that she knows everything about it. But I think she felt a little bit or very unnoticed in all her efforts, and being. And she feels she doesn't get a fair chance, you know.
And I think it's the youth
to be part of this, you know.
And I think that's why she's a little resentful at the youth, because they're the ones. I think they're the ones that were giving her shit in social, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely, and it's true. It's true. You know, I don't disagree with her there.
Yes.
There is that happen. There's a lot of immaturity there in the political spectrum as well.
And I think because she knows a lot of this stuff she's doing, she says she's doing this for 30 or even more years. That she if she would open herself a little bit more to the new generation, she could be a very, very meaningful help for those young people. You know, and
Absolutely.
I think she should consider this from this perspective, maybe.
Agreed. All right, so that was Wendy Reed. Yeah. That was interesting with the people. We got more next week, but I actually don't know the people that are on them. I made the events. Oh, it's her witch and warlock couple. Totally not what they really are, but that was just a joke in the MVP because they've got great pictures. The next two candidates coming up, it's like sometimes it's hard to get a really good picture out of candidate. These two, perfect. Josh Jones, who's running for governor of California, and Maria Estrada, who is running for Assembly, California Assembly, not congressional district, not Senate. Oh my God, there's so many.
My fault?
No, it's me. I'm the one who put congressional in there. There's so many damn things. California Assembly, which is their lower house, and she's running for District 63. Anyway, we got Josh Jones, and then we got her. Both look to be very exciting, very interesting candidates to talk to. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Laura Livengood, for booking all that stuff. Marcus, you picked this last piece, and I love this. This was a discussion with Supreet and Rhonda.
Yes.
I'm just going to say this right now. She's actually, I'm going to say a lot more than what I was going to say just about Supreet. But you guys don't know this, but so Rhonda and Supreet and Courtney and Brian and Tyler and a couple other people in there, they're basically the mass. They are the engine of our revolution in Washington State. They have the largest mailing list of people in our revolution to manage. They are trying to build their Washington Bernie-Crats coalition. They need help. They need a treasurer to turn it to because they need to actually make it a PAC like Progressive Oregon is, like our revolution is, so that they can move forward. They're struggling. They need volunteers to help. They need people to help organize the volunteers. They have this massive progressive power, and they have done so much. And you got to understand that all of these people have medical issues one way or another. We all got something, all right? They are financially strapped. They are raising children. They are working jobs, and they are running our revolution organizations. They are running King County OR. They are doing this show. It is some of the most incredible work that you've ever seen out of human beings, and they're not getting paid for any of it. Well, the work they do to pay the bills. But other than that, none of this stuff they're getting paid for. Okay. The other day there was an Our Revolution national call. I wasn't able to be on it because they keep doing these things on Wednesdays, and they keep doing them right when we have We the Peoples. So I can never be on the Our Revolution calls. Rhonda was on there, and I wasn't there, so this is from her words, but she was asked to speak on what they've been doing in Washington with the show, with organizing, with bringing the groups together, because they've been really out there. When they say Washington Bernie-Crats Coalition, they've been getting together with all the other progressive organizations, which is something we've been saying nationally for months. Stop fighting with each other and get the hell together. You got bigger fish to fry. And they've been doing it. And I just want to point out that none of these people well, they may be in their early 30s, but they're not my generation, and they're not Wendy's generation. That's what I want to point out. Okay, and the education they have is college at best, right? But I guarantee you they didn't spend 20 years or 30 years protesting or anything. They raised their kids and went, shit, now we have to fight a goddamn corrupt government. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, they're doing an amazing job. Nina Turner mentioned Rhonda and asked Rhonda to speak on the national call, and then kept referencing Rhonda, and she was glowing the other day talking about it. And I just want to say thank you, Nina, for doing that.
Yes.
And to people in Washington, get off your ass, get in touch with the Bernie Kratz Coalition and help them. If you're a treasurer, if you want to be involved in administration, if you want to see the most powerful group of progressives in Washington really move forward and do stuff, then we need you to join and help them. Help them. What they've done is amazing. It would be so much easier for them to do it if they had some other helping hands. So please, if you're in Washington, you know anybody in Washington, or if you want to lend your time to help them in any other aspect, please. They need it, and you know, they're struggling to keep the show running. And I just honestly, I said, your show is the least most important thing you do. I forgot to mention, they're also managing campaigns for all of the progressive candidates that they're putting forth. These women, that's you know, Rhonda, Courtney, Supreet. It's absolutely amazing. They need your help. Google Washington Bernie Kratz Coalition. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them everywhere. They have a website. They need your help. Okay. And if you're interested in helping on the show for the Washington show, info@uphillmedia.org, and we will train you and help you work with them on the show. All right. But really, everything else they've got going on, the two giant organizations they're trying to grow and foster, the candidates that they are trying to promote, that's enough. All right. So I just want to give them props. The other thing I want to say is, as soon as Supreet has some free time, she needs to run for office. Okay?
Yeah.
Whatever office you want, you will have, because I know you. You'll just be like, I'm taking that office, and you'll just take it. All right? So whatever, Supreet needs to run for office. You're going to listen to her talk here. Thank you, Rhonda, for interviewing her. Here's a portion of that.
That available, and it's very important, you know, and as Rising Up, because we're learning too, as women, or I am, on how to be in this new world of being lifted up. And we've been fortunate, you know, in our organization and with Uphill Media, that these men around us have had that space open, and we didn't have to fight for it. We came in, we interested, great. We would love to have female, you know. Yes. On the show. So thank you to all the men around us, just to let you know, who have created that space.
There's one more thing, if I might add. Revolutionary feminism has space for men who have mutual respect, who understand, like, it is not just like feminism, it's not about women, it's about understanding that the capitalist class has divided us first by gender, then by race, then by immigration status. So we cannot band together and point the finger where the blame lies, and we have to sort of overcome that. We have to stop being offended by the words feminist. We have to stop being offended by somebody saying, oh, white people do this or men do this. Seek to understand and then to talk. And Nina Turner is 100 times the person that I am, and Senator Turner said this. And even though it's hard for me sometimes, but in moments of that anger, when somebody says something against my identity, I calm myself down and I remember her words. I seek to listen and then sort of try to explain to them my point of view. And that only lasts so long. If I don't see, you know, good faith argument, I back off. But I try to make sure there is good faith argument from my side. And that's how we build a movement.
That's brilliant. Oh, thank you. I want to go check in the audience to see if there's any.
All right, that's like one small tease of the powerful speaking of Supreet Kaur, honestly. So.
Yeah.
And they also have to put up with me, because I treat them like a crew that does a show, because they are. And so then we talk about their show and what was good and what was bad and what needs to be better. And, you know, they're willing to put up with all of that. That's ridiculous from a guy. Anyway, that was that. What else do we got? Are we through? What else do we got?
Not quite yet. I only would like to address two topics which are which are left, of course, I would like to comment the March for Our Lives and
Yes.
the latest pick of the Orange Idiot, and yes, and then you can go into the weekend.
Well, you know what I forgot was the Democratic platform.
Oh, yes, okay. We always forget something. Okay.
We do. I'm going to talk about the platform because we had the damn platform convention, everybody.
Yeah.
Woo. Did you see this? Did you guys see this? So this was the most awesome, fun weekend ever. Not really. It was cool. It was cool to learn how democracy works, and it works slowly, and it works on paper with little tiny notes and stuff, and it works illegibly, and it works. It was amazing to see 500 people gather in this high school and junior high and rewrite the Democratic Party platform. It was. I realized this at the end of it. I was such a noob to the understanding of what was going on and how these things done. A lot of the people there were experienced. There were a lot of young people there. But by the end of it, I realized I was like the drunk guy in the corner. That's what. Yeah, do that. And you guys, half the time didn't hear me. Only Ash could hear me. But it's like everybody else was calm and composed, and I got so into the passion of the speech. And so, like, somebody would get up there and say something. The process was amazing because when they would debate different things, the second day, was the whole damn platform, which actually included stuff about engagement broadcasting. Here's Gene Atkins had a message to say about it afterwards, to talk about the stuff that we chose on the platform. I helped make decisions for this. We chose these things, but on Sunday, basically, it was they'd present a legislative action item or whatever it was, and then they would have 2 people on the pro side and 2 people on the con side, and if they needed to hear more, they would hear more, always an equal number amount. And then Valdez Bravo, who was the chair of this whole thing, an amazing young man, by the way, another guy who is in his 30s, and I know hasn't experienced this much. But anyway, he was the chair of the Democratic Party Platform Convention. And a lot of people want him to run for governor a little later on in his career. And I met him and had an amazing time. And he doesn't know this, but I had a little fanboy experience. We're gonna have Valdez on the show at some point in time. Anyway, he gets to decide, if we need to hear more or less, and then we take votes. And I was in the back in the very corner of this as I was broadcasting with Ash, and we would be like standing. We look over at Justin and be like, yeah, this one? Yeah, okay. Stand up. Raise your hand. Right? Or they'd be, okay, we need everybody who agrees with this, say aye. And be like, aye. It was amazing to participate in something where I felt like my voice actually meant something. Right? To decide on these things, to rewrite the words, to make sure they made sense. The thing that frustrated me the most was that there was a lot of stuff that got redone twice or was redundant because we were using paper. We were using ancient technology to do this for the most part. Overhead fucking projectors in the main rooms. Like it was embarrassing at that point. This stuff needs to be done in Google Doc with revision control, and it needs to be available online immediately, and that could be done. And I'm hoping that if I can work with the new technical director, Josh, who is definitely not even 30, and he's the technical director of the Democratic Party of Oregon, and he knows Bernie TV and knows me, and we're excited to do some stuff and bring them into the 21st century, at least the 20th, by the end of this year. All these young people, my God. Anyway, I want to show you a couple things. This is what we agreed to support, and there's some interesting things on here that I didn't think I'd ever see. So some of the things on here. Enforcement of our obligations towards tribes. That's cool. Imagine that. We believe that science should guide our policy decisions, not Jesus. No, the not Jesus part I threw in. It just says we believe that science should guide our policy decisions. Wouldn't that be amazing? The people count more than corporations. And that the whole of Oregon must be included as we work for a more prosperous state. There were so many cool things in here. The individual things that we debated were kind of exciting. There was, but I'm going to tell you the thing that pissed me off the most. There was a guy that really was working hard to promote the idea of hydrogen fuel studies and hydrogen fuel. His stupid suggestion, in my view, because anybody who knows green energy knows that hydrogen is not a viable solution, and it's just something for the goddamn fossil fuel industry to latch onto. Okay, it made it in there. There were enough people to go, yeah, that's a great idea. That tells me there's a lot of misinformation in the Democratic Party about renewable energy, about green energy, that we've still got people that think hydrogen is a great way to go. So that pissed me off. My legislative action item, the one that was rewritten very lovely by the people in the room when we were discussing it, did not make it into the legislative action items, probably got booted out by Hydrogen Guy. However, I'm okay with that, because what I really cared about, the legislative action item is neat, but it's not actually going to, at the end, there's like hundreds of them that we approve, and I just did this in a ballot. And then after that, there's 12 of them that get sent to the Democratic Senate, or the Congress. And of those 12, they're supposed to accomplish, maybe they'll get 1, 2, if we're lucky. So there was no way my LAI would ever have made it anywhere in their faces. I don't need it to, because I have this that I can show in their faces now. If you're a Democrat and you're a representative, you're a public servant, then I can say, hey, Article 8, the Infrastructure, Energy, and Transportation, Communications, and Media Systems Internet Net Neutrality Article, what a crazy name for it, we support using the Internet to implement engagement broadcast. I don't know why we couldn't get the ING. It might have been changed to ING on there, but we didn't really work on the Planck number. We were with the LAI. Anyway, engagement broadcast as a way to facilitate a conversation with people using the internet, where they are, about the critical issues of our time, and share the ideas for solutions. That's in the Democrats, in there. It's in there. And as a personal note, it's in there. When I started doing this shit 5 years ago, I'm like, somebody's going to want to do this someday. Who knew it was going to be the Democratic Party of Oregon?
Yeah.
That's cool. And I can just go, look, we the people. See, the Planck is what we the people believe in. So I can say, well, the people who put money into your campaign for the Democratic Party, we believe in this. So why don't you come on and do an engagement broadcast with us? I'm not going to need to do that with most of the Democrats. Just the establishment ones that we find in the government. All the progressive Democrats in the Oregon Party are happy to come on. They want it. I met a bunch of them. They're like, yeah, let's do this. So that's exciting. That's leverage. You're like, what good does that do to have a Planck and have something in the Planck? It's leverage. I could take that leverage and go, let's do something together. Come on. So anyway, that was it. It was fun. Thank you all for joining us on that, because it was really cool.
Yeah.
And the work's just begun. There's a lot of other stuff we have to do. We have to force them to implement laws that make these changes, right? But a lot of them are say, fund this, fund that. And in good democracies like the one Markus has, they just do that shit. Yeah. But Germany's responsible for something. What did John Bolton blame you for? I don't remember.
Yes, John Bolton. Yes, I don't want to go into details now about how horrible this pick is, and no, not into the general details, of course. But I want to address something he said. I think in 2016. John Bolton, the guy who until today defends the correctness of the Iraq War, blames Germany for taking in the refugees. And I just want to salute, I just want to welcome Mr. John Bolton with a heartfelt fuck you, because he should think about who caused all this mess in the Middle East, who started all this bullshit, And don't blame us Germans. We know we have problems with all this, what affected this. But don't tell us anything about what we have to do, because you are not qualified for this. And I know you won't see this, but I just wanted to say it. Fuck you, John Bolton. Thank you.
That you could just add mine into there. Markus represents the whole of Germany. I guarantee you there isn't a German citizen in Germany that would disagree with Markus. So.
Maybe some of no, hold on. The AFD side, they welcome.
Do they like John?
Yes, they like him, of course. Yeah,
all Nazis like that stuff. Come on.
What I know from real politicians here in Germany is that they don't want to comment this this pick, and this says pretty much.
Right. We were talking about. By the way, you got comments. Chemo says, "I love you, Markus."
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Yes, he is horrible, Jilly Love. Marcus is awesome. Hey, Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, and we go out with what's going on today with the March for Our Lives, and again, I have to tell you something. I think what's going on is absolutely fantastic and great to see all those young people, all the students in the street and fighting for something which is absolutely worth to fight. And there it goes. It is, for me. I can tell it from my perspective as a German. For me, it is a kind of obscenity to see this, It is obscene to see young people in the streets having to demonstrate for the right not to being killed in their schools. It is absolutely, it is not gettable. It is not acceptable. It is not gettable. It is so fucking wrong. And I gotta say fuck again, because we are allowed to do this in the show. It is so fucking wrong, And you see what's going on this weekend in America. America is watching now, today, the March for Our Lives, and tomorrow the nation is waiting for the dick pics coming from Stormy Daniels. And that's the weekend in America in March.
That's, yeah. And yeah. It's going to be up to us and the kids to make sure that we don't forget about marching for our lives in lieu of porn. But yeah, there was and just to tie onto that, I don't know if you guys saw this, but YouTube recently shut down the use of its channel for gun nuts to talk about how they modify their penis extensions to become even more deadly weapons, and apparently they're moving their videos to Pornhub, and I think you couldn't find a more perfect match. That's really where they want to be anyway, so good. Stay over there. Pornhub. It's a better place for you. Appreciate it. To everybody who is marching today, thank you so much. To everybody who is supporting marchers, thank you so much. This is what we got to do. It doesn't stop. It's just the beginning. Right? Uphill all the way. Next week. Monday.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, wait, that's the wrong slide. Dang it. Is that right one? No, which one's in order?
No,
yeah, I had them backwards. It is Maria first. All right. So we got Maria Estrada, Assembly District 63 in California. See what I mean? Isn't that a great picture? Look at that picture. She's like, I'm coming for you, Rendon. You.
Yes, she has a little bit like from the Addams family.
Yes, in a cool way. In a very cool way.
Yeah,
Yes.
in a cool way, of course, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, everybody. Okay, and here's Josh Jones again.
Yeah.
See, to me now, they look like they could both be Doctor Who's. That's what I get. Like, both be Doctor. Anyway, Josh Jones is a candidate for California governor, and I'm gonna get this wrong. I believe he's with the Green Party, Laura.
The Green Party, yes.
His Green Party. Okay, right. Marcus does all the content with the content people, which is something I want to say. This place doesn't run without volunteers, and the volunteers. Marcus is a volunteer. Everybody else is a volunteer. I am the only one here that sits with fat stacks. You guys, everybody else is working for free for the most part. So without volunteers, this place does nothing. Thank you all so much for being here and doing what you do. Thank you, Marcus.
And I want to take the opportunity and thank our content team,
Yes.
Lynn Patch, Linda Kirkman, Karen, Jeffrey, and you are wonderful, and we are so happy to have you. And as John said, it would not be possible without you. Thank you very much.
It's not, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to reach out to our content team and all the other volunteers, because Slack is a terrible place to reach out to you. If you haven't filled out the volunteer form, please do, because I'm going to start eliminating people and channels in Slack who are inactive. It's just become a giant mess. And I really want to work with the people who are interested in working with us. You want to hang out there and just drop articles in general, that's totally cool. It's fine by me. But you got to let me know. Fill out the activist form so that we have you and we can communicate with you in a better way. We want to get people crew shirts. We want to do some things to say thank you. And they're little tiny things, but it's now that we have an organization, I need to do them. In order to do that, I need to get you guys all in the Action Network, and I need to make sure you're there and active. So, and we've kind of shifted things, if you haven't noticed. We're not so much focused on national news and big headlines anymore. It's okay to drop all that stuff in general if you want. That's fine. We're more focused on specific shows, state level stuff, local stuff. And so we've created some new channels for that, but we don't want to get them messed up with people who just want to hang out and have fun. So what I'm trying to say there is, if you're interested in working on any of our new special projects, any of our programs, any of our content teams, I've got lots of stuff that we need to do other things for. We can assign you to one of those teams and get you trained. And that's going to be the new way we go. So let me know. We'd love to have you. We've got lots of cool roles. And as always, we're looking to expand our ability to focus on local civics, local politics, and the ground game that's going on. And that's really our focus right now, is helping candidates and the local actions by progressives. So just to clarify. So I know things have shifted a lot. Markus, final word?
Yes, we are not at the end, John.
Oh, what did I forget?
we don't have to forget to mention tomorrow's show, Progressive Oregon, with the guests Eileen Reevy, I hope I pronounce it correct.
Oh, yeah.
Joyce Judy and Rachel Prusak. And, of course, tomorrow later, there is the Progressive California show with Adriel Hampton and our lovely Laura Livengood.
There we go. NVP Shakes the Capitol is tomorrow with Progressive Oregon. Eileen Reevy is just on fire as a progressive. She's a great speaker. I don't know what she's running for, if she's running for something. I got to ask Larry. But very excited to have her on the show. Joyce Judy, just met her over the convention weekend. She is taking on Peter Courtney. Peter Courtney is a state senator who is... Nobody likes Peter Courtney, and we need to get rid of Peter Courtney. He's a repub, and he's a Trump fan, and we just need to get rid of his ass. And Rachel Prusak, I do not know who she is, but I know she's running for something or doing something. All three of these ladies. Eileen Reevy is the, I want to say chair or vice chair. She's in the top positions in the national, oh my gosh, what is it called? National vote, popular vote. I got NVP. It's supposed to be NPV. Jesus. See, there's more spelling errors, everybody. It's the National Popular Vote. We have to change that card out for tomorrow. It's not your MVP awards. It's the MPV awards, which is National Popular Vote, and it's not really awards. It's an initiative to make everything just by the popular vote and get rid of the dumbass electoral college. And just a point of order, and I don't know, remember, I think it was Markus? No, it wasn't Markus. It was, I don't know who it was. We were talking about the national popular vote. I think it was on Larry's show last time or whatever. But a great point of order here. Other countries that have adopted our vote, our democracy, of all the countries, none of them adopted the electoral college. They're like, that's some fucked up shit. Right? The whole one person, one vote, that works for democracy. But your electoral crap, that's just crap. We can't, right? So we need to get rid of that crap. There's no need for it to exist. It's a way to rig the system. That's all it is. Right?
Yeah.
Right, Markus? And I don't have do I have a card for Laura, for Adriel? Shit.
No, Laura said she just made it.
No, I don't have it in here. Anyway, tomorrow evening, Adriel Hampton, always a good time. Joe Cicada's on spring break. Young kids. See, there you go. There's a young kid screwing off, taking a spring break. Jeez. Anyway, it'll be Laura, myself, and Adriel. We'll be talking about what Adriel had done during the day, which will be today, actually. He's going to be at Rock something. It's in San Francisco. I'm getting it wrong, and I'm so sorry. Anyway, Adriel will be talking about that. Laura, see what happens when you're not in here? I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, tomorrow, everybody, just watch the shows. Just watch the shows. And what are we going out with? Rollins Band, Fool?
We are going out, not to mention again, our No More Fools fundraiser next week, you know?
Yes.
And we're going out with Fools by Henry Rollins. And we all know good old Henry. And enjoy the weekend. See you tomorrow. And let's rock.
Thanks so much, Markus. Here's a little quote by Henry on guns.
Yeah.
Yeah! See my end coming from a long way off. trying. Like a fool, I will crawl. I waste time in my mind thinking of you. I am a fool, I know. I should be healing myself instead of hurting myself. I am a fool, I know, I know, I know. And it hurts to keep learning the same lessons in pain. I am a fool, I know. Self-mutilation is the only thing I know. I am a fool, I know. I've seen your front teeth sharpen and I've watched your muscles flex. You have the kind of eyes that turn mere mortals into wrecks. I know firsthand so well all the hard times you direct. Seduced, rejected, reduced, ejected again.